My Weirder-est School, Book Number 9. Mrs. Barr has gone too far. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 2. A Real Globetrotter. I thought that was the end of our geography lesson, but it wasn't. The next day we were in the middle of silent reading, and guess who walked through the door? Nobody. You can't walk through a door. Doors are made of wood. But our principal, Mr. Klutz, walked through the doorway. He has no hair at all. I mean none. He can probably wax his car and his head at the same time. Mr. Cooper told me you kids are having trouble with geography, said Mr. Klutz. So I said he could bring in someone to help you learn about it. Mrs. Barr, will you come in, please? A lady came into the classroom. She had bracelets and necklaces dangling all over her, and she was wearing a dress that looked like a map of the world. In one hand, she was holding a basketball, and the other hand was pulling a suitcase. Hello, she said cheerfully. Bonjour, hola, guten tag, shalom. She said some other words I never heard before. All these words mean hello in other languages, said Mr. Cooper. I met Mrs. Barr when I was in Spain. She's visiting our country, and she agreed to come talk to you. Do you mind if I open a window? Asked Mrs. Barr. It's a little stuffy in here. Go right ahead, said Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper tells me you're a real globetrotter, Mr. Klutz said to Mrs. Barr. Is that why you have a basketball? I asked. Not that kind of globetrotter, dumbhead, whispered Andrea, rolling her eyes. Oh, this isn't a basketball, Mrs. Barr told me. It's a globe. Yes, I've been all over the world. I visited 195 countries. Wow, we all said, which is Mom upside down. Mrs. Barr has generously offered to spend this week at our school, said Mr. Klutz. And she isn't charging us a penny. She's doing this out of the goodness of her heart. Isn't that wonderful? We gave her a round of applause. That's what you're supposed to do when people do nice things for free. I just love geography, said Mrs. Barr. I am at your disposal. You're a garbage can? I asked. Arlo, shouted Andrea. That's not nice. Why do you have a suitcase? Michael asked Mrs. Barr. I never know when I might want to travel somewhere, she replied. I like to be ready at all times, so I take it wherever I go. Do you take it when you go to the bathroom? I asked. Yes, she replied. How about in the shower? Asked Ryan. Do you take your suitcase in the shower with you? Well, no, she replied with a laugh. I don't take it in the shower. It would be weird to take a shower with a suitcase. Your necklaces are pretty, said Andrea. Thank you. Andrea and Emily were oohing and eyeing over Mrs. Barr's jewelry. I got these necklaces on a trip to China, she said. China is amazing. And I got this bracelet when I was visiting India. India is amazing. And I got these earrings in Brazil. Brazil is amazing. I still can't believe that people poke holes in their ears and stick stuff in them. I don't care what anybody says. That's just weird. Isn't travel amazing? Asked Mrs. Barr. Yes, shouted all the girls. No, shouted all the boys. Mr. Cooper told us that Mrs. Barr speaks 7 languages: English, Spanish, Turkish, Yiddish, Polish. Can you speak gibberish? I asked. That's not a language, dumbhead, said Andrea, rolling her eyes. I wish her eyes would roll right out of her head. Have you ever been to Egypt? Asked Neil. Oh, yes, Mrs. Barr replied. I went inside the pyramids. It was amazing. Mrs. Barr thinks every place she goes is amazing. She probably thinks it's amazing when she goes to take out the garbage. I don't get it. What's the big deal about going places? Why would you want to go someplace when you can stay home? Going places is a drag. You have to go to the airport, take your shoes off, put your shoes on again, and sit around waiting for the plane to take off. Then you have to sit on the plane for 1,100,000 hours. Then when you finally get to the place you're going, your parents drag you to a bunch of museums and other boring stuff. Do you know what I think about as soon as I get to the place I'm going? I think about when I can go home. I'd rather just stay home in the first place. I love traveling, said Andrea, who loves everything I hate. Me too, said Emily, who agrees with everything Andrea says. Traveling allows you to experience other cultures, said Mr. Klutz. Other cultures are boring, I said. You get to try new foods, said Mr. Cooper. New foods are yucky, I said. Don't you want to become a well-rounded person, Arlo? Asked Andrea. I'd rather be a triangle, I told her. Well, by the end of the week, said Mrs. Barr, I think you're going to change your mind, and you kids are going to learn lots about geography. This was going to be the worst week in the history of weeks.